podcast on the Bifflers podcasting schedule. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's in Estonia and is not here too, but she's doing fine, I suspect.
Estonia, how's life over there now?
Cold and drab, according to the pictures that I've seen.
Nice.
And asleep, I hope she is, anyway. It's like 6 or 7 hours ahead of here. It's like 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, I was feeling bad. We didn't record a podcast last week.
That's right.
A little busy with all sorts of nonsense going on, and then it's Wednesday here already. Did I mention that? It's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. But then I stopped feeling bad because I went to look for the latest episode of The Biffler, and there hasn't been one in like 6 weeks or something.
That's right. We're going to soon do an episode, and we'll do a recap of the Super Bowl. You know, get to the bottom of that.
That's what we need, is to remember. I off the top of my head, I can't even remember who won the Super Bowl.
That's right.
It was in San Jose, the Seahawks.
There we go. Yeah, the Seahawks and the Patriots. And the last episode we did on the other podcast was a preview of the Super Bowl.
Which came out a week later, I believe.
Was released a week afterwards. Yeah, you know, we live in a different time, on a different timeline.
Geno Smith, I saw, going back to the Jets.
Is this the weakest quarterback, not class, but like just era? Like, otherwise, terrible quarterbacks are getting second and third looks, and they're getting a lot of money for it.
Geno Smith has been good the last few years.
He has regressed a bit. I mean, it's been a couple years since that, when he had a nice season or two. But like so many quarterbacks, I mean, like Tua, who should be retired, he's going to die on the field at some point. He he already got all of his money from the Dolphins. He's getting like a minimum, like $1 or $2 million with the Falcons. But like he's not good either. Daniel Jones was trying to get $50 million a year after tearing his Achilles. Like, he's not. I mean,
I saw a headline. Didn't he sign? I mean, I don't know how much of it is real money, but I thought it was like $100 million that he signed a contract for with the Colts.
Yeah, they eventually did like a multi-year, but initially they were like, if you're gonna get me on a prove it deal because I'm coming off injury, I want like $50 million. They're like, well, we're not going to do that. We'll just do multiple years, and they'll fudge the numbers. But like, again, who are the great quarterbacks? They're either, no, like,
they've dumbed down the NFL to the point where it's the era of the mediocre quarterback, right? Like,
is it that, or are defenses more complex, or do you think it's more on the quarterback side? Do you think like the defenses are just so exotic that quarterbacks are having to like take their time because like the yardage numbers are down? Like, a lot of things are just down. And so, like, is it that the quarterbacks suck? I mean, they do kind of suck. Or is it that the defense has gotten better?
I don't know. Like, you look at, because who are the great quarterbacks? And if, like, don't tell me it's Drake May. And
right, yeah. So, like, so you have to fall back to what? Like, Mahomes has had a down year. Like,
Mahomes has not been
Josh
great.
Allen.
Not been spectacular anyway the last couple of years. And maybe that's the people that are around him. But
right. And then there's Josh Allen, who's still good. You know, I think Lamar Jackson has seen his best years, but he may have another couple years. But, like, there aren't that many.
I think that we're so spoiled by that run in, like, the mid-2000s when you have
Tom Brady,
Manning, Aaron Rodgers, even
Eli Manning, of course.
And even going back a little further, Brett Favre and John Elway and all of that, Troy Aikman, that stuff. Like, I think that there was this before the defenses got smart, there was this really fun era in the mid-2000s where offenses just exploded, but it was combined with elite quarterback play, and we just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Is there a draft happening? Isn't that...
in a month or so? Like
not
at
for
the end
another
of
month?
April? Yeah.
All right. I don't know what to talk about tonight. What do you got going on? What's been going on with you?
You know, over the weekend, the last couple of weekends have been very pleasant down here in Atlanta. During the week, it kind of fluctuates a bit, but nice weekends. And last
referring
weekend,
to the weather or just like your activities?
Yeah, weather and just kind of just a nice little festive atmosphere out there. Met with some friends over the weekend, and I was waiting for a beverage. There was a line, and these two guys in front of me. They were analyzing like the Senate map for the midterm elections.
Oh yeah.
Strictly through the lens of prediction markets, right? They're like, dude. And I think they did open it with a dude. Like it's 41%, right? And this was like over the weekend. I think the numbers have changed. It's like 41% for the Dems to run the table and get the Senate. I think that number is soft. Like they weren't like talking about it. They were literally talking about it as if it were a sporting kind of contest. Like I'm seeing some opportunity here to where money could be had. Like it's
what side were they on? They think that there's money to be made by saying that the Democrats will retake the Senate?
Yeah, basically they're saying that number is too low, and they're not actually capturing the mood of things and the way that it's going to go.
It is
and they
not
were
a great map. I haven't looked at it in detail.
Right, but then they went into. I almost interjected because I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. They have to run the table in Ohio and Texas and Maine and North Carolina and hold on to Georgia and Michigan, like. You know, like there were a lot of things, but again, it was literally devoid of any sort of like issue stuff. It was literally just like if it were like fantasy football.
Right, fantasy football or like Wall Street types talking about stocks and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like overvalued, undervalued. Yeah, basically it was seen through. I just thought it was odd.
It's bad, right? Like I think that.
Yeah, I think
I always land on it's bad that we can gamble on everything all of the time.
Yes,
but also. It puts me on the side of the fuddy-duddies and the scolders, right? Where it's like, because I think like Arizona, I think there's a few states. I think most recently I heard Arizona, like the Attorney General in Arizona is like, you assholes can't just run an unregulated sports book.
Right.
Like we are in charge of whether or not this sort of thing is permitted, and you are allowing for effectively unregulated wagering on elections and sporting events, which is against the law.
Right. And also, yeah, and they're also betting on, you know, you have these stories that you read about like, oh, we're not paying out on the death of somebody because you bet on like the Ayatollah dying on this particular date over that date. Like, you know, it's becoming like you're gamifying the world. It's like, okay, who's going to be the next belligerent to join the Middle East war? Like, I want, you know, like odds on this. Like, you can't turn everything into that. And you're right. It does be like, I'm surprised. It's kind of like that move fast and break things kind of philosophy where it's just like, we'll just be everywhere until the legislators catch up in a couple of years.
Well, they have friends in the Trump administration who have, I mean, the Trump administration is all for this stuff. I was listening on the radio to something, and the news report was like, oh, and Don Jr. is on an advisor on the board of Kalshi and one of the other prediction markets. It's like, oh, Don Jr. giving sage advice to the people at Kalshi and Predict It or whatever the fuck.
Right.
And it's particularly amusing to, I mean, this is the single most corrupt presidential administration in the nation's history in all likelihood, and I don't think it's terribly close. And after 5 years or whatever of listening to Republicans bitch about Hunter Biden being on the advisory board of some bogus
Burisma or whatever. What was that name?
Ukrainian oil and gas company, Burisma. Yeah. And the Biden crime family corruption. To compare that to what's going on with the Trump administration is ridiculous. The fingers that they have in the crypto industry and the prediction market industry, it's just pretty gross.
Right.
But back to the Senate race, Texas in particular, there was some deadline that because there's a Republican primary fight between Cornyn and their Attorney General Ken Paxton. I think is the dude's name.
Their own side was trying to impeach a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's speaking of corrupt people. He's apparently like a real throwback dirtbag state politician who's like both personally and professionally shameful in his behavior, in his personal life and in his public life, like a creature of the Texas political system, the way that you would hear about like the Chicago political machine or whatever, like similar levels of grossness.
And yet he forced a runoff with what, like 4-term senator? How many terms has Cornyn been around? Like a very senior member of the GOP in the Senate.
Right, and not a crazy person, largely speaking. And therefore, that leaves room in a race like that for the crazy person to do crazy things. But Trump had an opportunity here to not fuck this up the way that he fucked up Georgia, right? Like, Georgia only has 2 Democratic senators because of the interference or the lack of correct acting by Donald Trump. He had an opportunity as late as just a few days ago to endorse Cornyn and tell Paxton to fuck off, and chose not to. Chose to sit on his hands and not say anything.
Well, what's interesting about that, so when the race, when the results came out a couple of weeks ago on that Tuesday, and it showed that there was going to be a runoff, I remember Trump sent out something or went through the press, or he posted it on his social media website, and he basically said that he was going to crown one of the 2 as the endorsement guys, and he wanted and expected the other to drop out because, between March and May, I think the runoff is in May, 2 more months of just spending and infighting is not going to be good going into the fall election.
Right.
And if Paxton makes it through, which is not inconceivable, then you have that candidate quality issue that Mitch McConnell referred to that caused the Georgia seat to turn blue, right? So Paxton would be in a worse shape than Cornyn would in the general election. But as soon as Trump sent out that feeler, and I think Paxton knew that he wasn't going to be chosen, because basically all of the establishment senior Republicans probably got in Trump's ear and said, hey, you need to call this, and it was going to be Cornyn. And so Paxton came out and said, I'm staying in the race no matter who Trump picks. And I think because of that, Trump didn't want to seem to be weak, because if he went through with the endorsement and Paxton stayed in, it would have made him to look weaker. And I think that's why he decided not to follow through.
He must not actually believe in the power of his endorsement then, right? Like, it's one thing to say, I want the other guy to drop out, and then if he doesn't, then Cornyn goes and mops the floor with him because the Republicans in Texas do what Trump wants them to do, right? Like, that would be... That, in theory, that's the power of the endorsement of the President of the United States. He must not believe that actually carries much sway there.
Well, either that or he wants to protect the image of his I'm the kingmaker, right? So, he doesn't want anything to kind of undermine that. I don't know if they went behind the scenes and they offered Paxton, some cushy ambassadorship job or something, and Paxton must have been said, no, fuck it, I want these 6-year terms, I want to outlast you. And so maybe whatever they were offering was not good enough. The public announcement wasn't strong enough, so there was nothing there. So now we're going to get into this infighting for the next 2 months, and whoever comes out of it will be weaker for it. Yeah,
I still think if it's Cornyn, he wins in Texas, and if it's Paxton, then I think it's closer to a coin flip. Yeah, but
I think... I don't know how that's going to shake out in May, though, right? That assessment is correct, but I don't think Cornyn has it in the bag. Why is he struggling so mightily?
Because he's not we talked about it a month ago. He's not the craziest son of a bitch in the room, and we are a nation desperate for the craziest son of a bitch in the room.
Right, and so so if the appetite is for crazy and he's not offering it, then that's going to be to his detriment in May. I think there's a chance he's going to lose in May.
Yeah. There's another race in Maine where Susan Collins seems to be impossible to take down. She always survives whatever the various attacks are. You could say the same thing about Murkowski in Alaska, who got primaried and then ran as a not Republican, right? Did she run as an independent or just a write-in?
She was a write-in, right? Because I think she
wasn't the official Republican nominee, but she ends up winning anyway. Yeah.
Which is a remarkable achievement to win with that kind of last name. It's not Smith. So people had to write in.
Yeah, you want to see those ballots? How close did these people have to get in order for it to count?
That's right.
Anyway, Susan Collins going up against this Maine lobsterman who is also a former military and has some sort of... I'm sorry?
A Marine, right? He's a military guy?
Yeah, I thought you were going to come up with his name because I'm struggling to.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's going to come to me here, but it probably won't. He's got some sort of Nazi adjacent tattoo that he went and covered up because everybody was like, hey, that looks an awful lot like a Nazi skull. And he's like, it's not a Nazi skull, I swear. It was just a military thing. It was cool to do this in the military. And then he would like tweet about how his favorite movie is this one particular movie where the character, who's some sort of a fucking Nazi, has this Nazi skull tattoo that looks just like the one that he had on his body. And he's going to get it covered up or something. But then he went back on it. He's like, I'm not going to cover it up because it wasn't Nazi shit to begin with. I was like, I don't know if this guy's an actual Nazi, but like, come on, you fucking Democrats. Why are we finding people to nominate with Nazi skull tattoos?
Graham Plattner.
Plattner, right? That's the guy's name.
So like, it's him and like old lady Mills, right? Janet Mills. Because like, I think she was like she's old, which is a knock on her, but she's also like a more, known name. Like, I think she was the governor up there. I'm not familiar with Maine politics.
Yeah, I think this was like a last-minute thing by the Democratic Party trying to get somebody besides the possible Nazi-adjacent populist type to run. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe the guy is fine.
Also, in the past, people are just now running for any kind of office without, like, no one kind of goes through the ranks. Like, you do some local or state, you become a member of in the House, move up to the Senate, governor. Like, people are just like, out of nowhere, hey, I want to run for Senate.
It's the AOC Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was the cripple from North Carolina.
That's how you get introduced, like Hawthorne or Cawthorn or something like
Cawthorn. Madison Cawthorn,
because he was like a young kid, right?
Yeah,
like
Matt Gaetz, all these people who come to prominence by being loud on the internet, basically, and being able to stir up trouble online. That's the move. We had an example of that today or yesterday when this what's the guy's name? Joe Kent resigned from. Yeah, he's like one of Tulsi Gabbard's stoolies in the over at DNI.
Yeah,
resigned saying he couldn't abide Trump's war in Iran and out of principle had to quit the job, and also we should stop being slaves to the crooked-nosed Jews in Israel.
Yeah, that was a wild resignation. It's like the first half is something that you're hearing from especially on the right now, where they're kind of trying to distance themselves from this Iran war. But then this second part, which is now becoming a problem both on the left and the right, where there's this Israel or AIPAC or all of these different arguments are being made, and I don't know what his motivation is. It didn't sound very wholesome.
There's a line in there about, two things. One, he blames Israel for the death of his wife, who was killed in some sort of ISIS attack a long time ago. And then he also says something about why was the United States fighting Israel's war, referring to the wars in Iraq. I don't even know. I don't understand the math that he's doing there. And so the math just has to be that he's deeply anti-Semitic. It seems to me like he's deeply versed in weird anti-Jew conspiracy theory stuff in order to blame the war against in 2003 on the Jews, which is a not one that I'm terribly familiar with. Right. I thought it was just George W. Bush doing George W. Bush things. But anyway, his resignation letter seems clearly to be designed as hey, everybody, look at me as I go off into, 10 years ago, we would have said he'll start a blog. And maybe 5 years ago or 3 years ago, you would have said he's going to start a Substack and start getting donations to his Substack or whatever. And now it's just he's going to be a podcast weirdo who has a YouTube show and cross posts with Tucker and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens or whatever. And I guess we should talk about what's going on with the Iran stuff. Anyway, Trump, as recently as yesterday or the day before, he keeps doing these Air Force One gaggles with the press, and he says, war is basically over. We could pull the plug tomorrow if we feel like it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we stop the war now, it's going to take them 10 years to rebuild, and the job is basically done, all but the mission accomplished thing happening. And then Israel keeps piping back up and being like, oh no, shit's actually quite serious still. And Iran is launching, a headline that I saw this evening just coming home from baseball practice is that there was a new barrage of Iranian missiles that have been launched fairly recently after a relative quiet period. I don't know what any of that means. I don't know. It's still not clear to me what Trump understands the mission is.
Right.
In part because he says things like, if we stop now, and we could stop tomorrow, maybe I will, might feel like it tomorrow, it will take them a decade to rebuild. Then what was the point of the war?
Right.
If we're just going to like back off and leave them alone and let them reconstitute themselves however they see fit.
But the problem though is that it's not just up to Trump to just say, okay, like if tomorrow Trump and Netanyahu said, okay, we're going to pull back, the Strait of Hormuz would not be resolved, right? Because Iran would still want to continue doing what they're doing, right? So and they keep killing all the people that they're going to negotiate with eventually. So, like, how is this going to shake out? Like, it's not like, okay, we can just call it off and just move on.
Is it just childish petulance that he is going around and saying, like, hey, Japan and China, you rely on oil to, like, do stuff. It's your responsibility to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is open just as much as it is ours. Like, isn't the correct reaction to that just like, no, you stupid asshole.
Right.
Like you're,
and that, they're not calling him an asshole, but basically that has been the reaction, right, from just about everybody to say like, we didn't start this, we're going to stay out of it. Like he's trying to make the case that this affects everybody, and it does, but like that doesn't seem to be a winning argument to get involved in a war. You did not consult, you did not seek the assistance, and not too long ago you were saying you didn't need help. Like, it's a very incoherent back and forth where you're saying, Great Britain's so-called ally, fuck off, we don't need you. Oh, how dare you don't come and help us. And, like, it's back and forth. Every day it's some new argument. And it's like, most people would just want to stay out and see how things shake out. Like, maybe they're hoping that Iran runs out of missiles. Because all of this, every week it's like they have been completely destroyed, right? Their capability to fight against the U.S. and Israel, they're basically just done for. But every day there's a new story saying that this site was hit, like Qatar's refinery was attacked, the UAE airport, this or that. So it's like if what you're saying is true, that the Iranian military capacity is such that they can't pose any threat, how come they're posing a threat? Like, which one is true?
Yeah. And what's going on with the clerical regime? What's going on with the Ayatollah? The guy that they made the Ayatollah hasn't really, I don't believe, has shown up in public yet. He might.
Apparently he's like in Russia, right? Like he's seeking medical attention in Russia.
Israel all but killed him, I guess. Like they seem to have wanted to kill him and failed to quite do the job. Yeah.
So basically it seems like, I don't know how out of it he is. Like are they just like, is he like in a coma and like there's some like vacuum of like leadership and just everybody's just doing what they want? Like
there was also a rumor floating around that he's a homosexual, and that would be destabilizing to the regime if they had accidentally installed a homosexual as their.
But he's not like he's not acting on his homosexuality, is he? He could just pretend.
I mean, right now he's nearly dead. I'm not. That's right. I'm not sure how strong the urge is.
I'm sure if he's just like a hardline asshole, like he's been painted, like that's going to win enough support, right?
You say you want to paint his hard asshole? Is that what you just said?
I did not say.
I got choppy there for a second.
But like, as long as he's like, yeah, let's keep attacking, like he'll have the support. Like as long as he doesn't show any sort of weakness internally, he'll be fine. And also, it should be noted that Tulsi Gabbard, who's been against any sort of war on Iran for some time, now she has to kind of carry the water of the administration. Like she was in front of Congress today when we're recording on Wednesday, and she's trying to like talk around the fact that Iran's regime is intact, degraded, but still intact, which kind of creates a problem where you can't get the regime collapse idea will not work unless there's some sort of boots on the ground kind of invasion, right? Because like all they can do is just kind of degrade their military capacity and just kill different leaders. And we've done that before in Iraq and Afghanistan. The number 2 Al-Qaeda guy was killed like 100 times. And Al-Qaeda still somehow persevered, right? So like if you keep on killing these guys, they'll just replace them with other guys.
Right. And as long as the IRGC continues to support the malocracy, as long as there's no daylight between those two leadership organizations over there, then there's not going to be a regime collapse.
Right.
It is because I think that there's, and I don't fully grok all of the distinctions of that hierarchy over there, but there's a difference between the IRGC and the Army. The Army being relatively weak, the IRGC is who's actually in charge, militarily speaking. And as long as they remain hardliners and in favor of the religious leaders, nothing is going to change.
Right. And there hasn't been like a cultivation of some sort of resistance within, right? Like, I mean, Iran seems to have a lot of control over their domestic affairs. So there's no like group
right, well, it's
that's
50
ready.
Years of putting down anything like an internal revolt.
Right. So yeah.
This is it's generations of making sure that nothing can happen.
But what I don't understand is all of this stuff, you know, the US military, they have these war plans, all these scenarios, even with allied countries. They think of every possibility. And this must be like at the top of the possibilities that you would not be able to take out the regime from the air, right? Like I'm sure that's like the assessment. Like no matter what, we can only do so much in the air. We have to have an invasion, a sustained ground invasion, and some sort of like post-war stabilization, like some very expensive, costly, long-term project to undo this revolution, right? And so that information, I am sure, is in front of the president and all the decision makers. And so to go through with this,
I think they were just incredibly optimistic about their ability to foment change from above without any of the cost. I mean, we've lost, is it less? I think it's less than 10 still. Maybe it's
either 10 or 12, right? Yeah,
but yeah, 10 or 12?
In that, yeah.
You know, there's been essentially, I think, in like basically just like friendly fire incidents, and then one like collapsed building or something as a result of a missile. But like relatively speaking, this has been incredibly cheap in terms of American lives lost, because there hasn't been a lot of American lives actually put in harm's way in any meaningful way. So to that extent, they're right. They've been able to do this on the cheap up to this point, but it's not clear that it's going to accomplish whatever ends it was that they were after. And maybe that's part of why is Trump's refusal to say what the war aims are simply giving him maximum maneuverability in terms of declaring that this was all good and a victory at the end of the day. Right? Like if the reason that he's not saying we want regime change, even though certainly that would be what Israel is after in this, is because in case it doesn't happen, he doesn't have to worry about saying that he failed to do it.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's the reason why he refuses to identify a war goal here.
Right. Yeah, because basically it's open-ended. But like, if he were to declare that, you know, the objectives have been reached, and then the Strait of Hormuz is still impacted, all of these companies are reticent, rightfully, to, you know, pass through, you know, because, you know, they keep talking about the money that they may lose and the insurance, but like, there are people on board too, right? I mean, like those people on the ships would die also. So like, there's a human cost as well. So until there's some sort of settlement, some sort of agreement, some sort of truce, like, hey, let's, you know, this is hurting everybody, let's calm down and we'll try again or something. Like, I don't see how this changes. And like, it's the price of oil has gone up, 80 cents in like 3 or 4 weeks, right? So
just at the pump, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, at the pump. Yeah. So like, if this continues to go up, and that, you know, the theory is, you know, up like a rocket, down like a feather. So like, it's not going to come down fast, right? So it's going to stay high throughout the peak driving season in the summer. And so there's going to be all of this economic cost, also the regional problems, like all of like UAE, they have like these Formula One races and pro wrestling events. A lot of that stuff has to be canceled. So like the Middle East has tried to transition to like a broader kind of economy instead of just oil, and this is kind of undermining that. It appears now, it's been a few weeks since this war started, and it appears that Iran's goal is to be the inoperable brain tumor in the region. So basically, it's like there's nothing you could do to take us out. We'll absorb all the deaths, all the ayatollahs you can kill. We'll just replace them with another one. I think it seems like we have the appetite for death, and we don't think you have the appetite for the economic pain. Like that seems to be their calculation. Like we can just replace. I mean, there's like 80, 90 million people there. They could just keep doing this,
But does American public opinion matter at all? And this is sort of what I was getting at when we talked about this the first time, which is it's such a profoundly anti-democratic instinct for Donald Trump to go to war in this fashion. And the point that I was trying to make is like this is what the anti-democracy stuff, like the true belief, the true lack of belief in democracy is revealed in this, not in a lot of the other stuff that everybody freaks out about in terms of sort of his rhetorical style and just the way that he behaves. It is a complete disregard for and to some serious and meaningful extent, it is the fault of Congress for failing to be the check on executive power, to be the voice of the people in that regard, because they're cowards, because they don't want to be seen as having either stood for something that went poorly or stood against something that the leader of their party is in favor of. But like there's a at the core of this whole thing is, does American public opinion matter at all? And given Trump's impending status as the lamest of all lame ducks, where he's going to fight for the last 2 years of his presidency in Congress constantly. It will just be an unending stream of impeachments and investigations and hearings on the Hill and all of this shit. There is no more meaningful democratic check on Donald Trump. No matter what happens in the Senate, it's hard to imagine if they couldn't impeach him over January 6th. It just remains hard for me to imagine that they're ever going to, or not impeach, but convict. To convict,
the votes aren't there for that. I don't think that any modern president is going to have enough votes to convict them.
Right. So does American public opinion about this war matter at all? You're talking about the price of oil going up. I mean, Trump's going to lose the House anyway. I don't think he's going to lose the Senate, so who cares?
Right. So basically, the lame duck era that he is likely to enter next year may include like a prolonged shutdown. Basically, what's happening at the TSA security lines is that the funding for DHS. There's a partial shutdown. Most of government is functioning, but except for DHS, because they're trying to rein in, either the spending or the oversight or what have you. I anticipate if the House flips, there's gonna be a lot more of that. A lot of agencies are gonna be without money to try to rein in whatever concerns they have, and at that point, you'll get into the standoff to where, no resolution is had. Like government just kind of completely just shuts down next year. Like that could be, and I don't know how that's sustainable. And if things are trending, in a direction to where we enter this stagflation, all the numbers are coming up flat as far as the job numbers. I will say, I've used other less scientific indicators of things. I had the crane theory a couple of years ago. I've now noticed there is a grocery store recession indicator at my Kroger that I go to, 100% receipt check enforced over the last 2 weeks. Like everybody has to show the receipt.
You're leaving the grocery store and they're checking your receipt?
Yes, on both. So that we have it's a large Kroger and there's two main entrances. And there's on one side there's a cop that they hired, and the other side is like a security person for Kroger, and they check everybody's receipt.
Now, what are they looking for a receipt just to prove that you did the thing, or are they actually? Because like when I leave Costco, they count the items in the basket and they make sure that there's 10 items in the basket and that your receipt says 10 items, so that you didn't boost anything either by mistake or with the help of the cashier or what have you. Are they just looking for the piece of paper, or are they actually like checking it against what's in the cart?
They're looking for the piece of paper. I suspect, I can't prove this, but they are selectively deciding when to do the count. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to disparage
are they looking
the
at your
folks.
receipt?
No, they're just like, you're you're fine. Because I go there every day, basically. They're like, I've seen this guy. Unless I'm running some sort of scam, like
it's
one item at a time.
A lot of peanut butter you've been stealing from that.
But yeah, so it seems like if we enter a wobbly economic kind of environment this year and next, it's going to be a very destabilizing kind of situation to where government's not working.
Crucially, he doesn't give a shit about the Republican Party. Right? So he doesn't.
He gives a shit.
The only thing that motivates a lame duck president, like what keeps Bill Clinton engaged in the last 2 years following his, at the end,
like legacy stuff, right?
Right, legacy stuff. And for somebody like Bill Clinton, the legacy is tied up entirely with the machine of the Democratic Party. Right. Like it is important that he leave behind a legacy of people inside the Democratic Party machine that love Bill Clinton, right? That think Bill Clinton is great. Trump doesn't think that way, right? Trump he believes that the party has been remade entirely in his image. It's what I said a couple of years ago, and I guess it's a facile point, but what does a Republican Party without Donald Trump look like? What you end up seeing is the sort of cleaving that's happening now, where Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are going on insane anti-Semitic conspiracy theory land, and J.D. Vance just kind of has to sit on his hands as he tries to keep that portion of the angry Republican Party happy. And who's left to carry the Republican standard flag? You sent a clip of Mike Johnson sitting there with Donald Trump in front of the press, and Trump is talking about some congressperson who has a terminal cancer diagnosis, and Mike Johnson was visibly nervous about I don't think we should be talking about this. Right. I'm not sure how much of this his family wants out there in the world, or what's been publicly disclosed or whatnot. And Johnson's like, did you want me to tell this story? I don't know if I feel comfortable telling this story. And because Trump, I think Trump thinks Johnson's being humble or something. Like Trump, he cannot connect that there's a third person who's in this conversation who's not Donald Trump, right? Yeah. He cannot imagine that the cancerous congressperson's motivations are anything but the glorification of Donald Trump. The reason that the guy doesn't resign despite his terminal cancer diagnosis is that he wants to continue to glorify Donald Trump
to the very end.
Right.
Yeah.
That nothing else matters.
Right.
It's a moment of, I think you said, such a weird human being.
Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. That's it was grim. That's what I was going to say.
Mike called me and he said, "Sir, we're up by 3, but we're going to lose 1 by June." I said, "Who?" "Neil Dunn. He's a great congressman. Incredible." He called to say that he was terminal, really bad heart. There's nothing they can do. I said, "That's bad. Number 1, it was bad because I liked him. Number 2, it was bad because I needed his vote." But he really said, "Mike, I'm going to last this out for the president and you, and however long I live," it looks like June is the time, but however long I live, I'm going to be voting for you. How many people are going to say that? And just, because I don't want to have a terrible story about this, I did it for him first and for the vote second. But it was a close second, actually. But I did it for the vote second.
It is such a weird response because the pitch of his voice when the punchline of he'll be dead by June was such a weird thing to say about somebody, like a human being,
right. And he's doing it saying, like, look at the impact that I have on this man, that he's going to be, like, if you had a terminal diagnosis and you were going to be dead in 4 months, like, what would you do? I don't know.
Right.
I'd buy a pack of cigarettes. I'd get a big old bottle of booze.
Yes.
Vegas and hookers and blow and all of the rest. But
that's
this
what they
guy,
mean by settling your affairs, right? Hookers and blow.
Right. But this guy, he just wants to help out his buddy Donald Trump because he thinks Donald Trump's the greatest.
All right.
Like, and that's his only motivation. That's the only thing that he cares about. So, like, it's why he refuses to do the right thing in Georgia, and you end up with candidates that even the people of Georgia can't handle, and so you get Democrats when, like, there's just no reason. There's no good reason for that. I mean, it's ultimately probably for the best that Herschel Walker and whoever else aren't the
Kelly
senators
Loeffler
from
was also,
Georgia anymore. But, like, and ultimately, like, maybe the Texas Democrat
Tallarico.
Yeah, Tallarico is a talented politician and might be good in some way or another. But, like, it should be John Cornyn's seat in any normal situation.
It would be if they fucked it up by the lack of endorsement and the lengthy fight and a Paxton win, or even like if I think if Cornyn survives, it's not like he's going to be damaged. Like, if he survives, he will win in November. But I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to lose. And then if the Republican Party loses that seat because of this, fuck up, like lack of planning, then it will be their own doing. Like, they fucked up this winnable seat. They should not be that competitive.
Right. And the reason for it is because Donald Trump doesn't give a flying fuck about anything but Donald Trump, right? He has no concern for the future of the party. He has no concern for the country because he does not separate the country or the party from the person of Donald Trump, right? He's
right, but he must realize that he needs the Senate, right? Because, like, the House is probably like a lost cause at this point because the margins are so razor thin. Like, just the slightest shift is enough. The
only thing that he needs the Senate for is that when he is inevitably impeached after the Democrats take over the Congress, that then Republicans get to run the trial, right? That's the only benefit that he truly maintains by holding on to the Senate. I guess you could argue that if the Supreme Court justices decide to, Thomas and Alito, there's been rumors that one or both of them could be leaving this summer. I don't see it happening, but
if they don't take the opportunity to leave this summer, and like the unlikely scenario happens and it's a sweep, like just a blue tidal wave, like, do you think that they try to sub out the old geezers at the Supreme Court in those 2 months before the shift happens? Like, just because you never know when's the next chance
and jam through.
Yeah. Because basically, like, okay, like if you lose the Senate for the next 2 years, it's not looking good.
It would be quite something if Thomas and Alito choose not to retire this summer, and then on November 7th or whatever.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
Right. You can just say, like, oh, I had a bike accident, and I just realized how frail I am. Like, oh my God, my ankle hurts.
I know that they are partisan individuals. I cannot imagine them willing to risk their own legacy and taking such a drastically, like, plainly political step at the end of their career.
Right. So basically, their calculation this summer must be like, I'm good for at least another 6 years, because you can't count on the next couple of years. So, like, if you're like, I got a couple of years left in me, you should get out now. But if you got at least 6, you can stay on.
Yeah, when you think about it that way, it's hard to imagine Thomas being around for 6 more years.
Yeah, so basically, but the problem is, like, people of that stature, they have a healthy ego, right? Like, I mean, look at what happened to RBG. Like, she's like, I'm fine, I'm doing, curls at the gym. I'll live forever. And that did not work out.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if I ever sort of answered or we got to the point of the discussion here about whether or not American public opinion matters anymore. Because I don't think it does. And I was listening.
Okay, to that point, do you think it doesn't matter overall? Because a lot of people, I mean, this Trump era is 10 years in the making now. it's that 30 to 40%, 30 to 35% of the base. Like if there's a splinter there, if the fever finally breaks, that would be consequential. But short of that, like if they're just sniping like online, these different like talking heads, that's not going to be a problem. Trump has survived worse. But like if there is an actual like if there's disillusionment, if the gas prices keep going up, if the job numbers keep looking bad, and they keep revising it down, if the fever breaks, then it's consequential. But other than that, you're right. I don't think it makes a difference what the public opinion is.
It goes to this. There's a Pew Research Center poll that came out a couple of weeks ago, or at some point in the last couple of weeks anyway. And the headline is, in 25 countries survey, Americans especially likely to view fellow citizens as morally bad. Subhead, 53% of U.S. adults say Americans have bad morals and ethics. Which, at first blush, my thought was that seems kind of low based on the current situation that the country feels so incredibly polarized that I would have guessed that it was closer to like 60 or 70% of people who believe that the other half are bad. But
I guess, yeah, that's true. But, I did see that same report. Like the U.S. is alone, right, in this.
Right. So that was where my intuition was sort of whacked on its head, which is we're the only country where we're upside down on our neighbors.
Right.
Right. Like the other ones are like Turkey and Brazil and Greece, where it's sort of close.
Right.
Most people in most other countries that you might compare us against assume that their fellow countrymen are good. Right. and have at least good motivations, even if they might be wrong about stuff. Right. Americans don't think that, and that's really bad.
Yeah, that's very concerning. I mean, like I think like Canada had a very healthy split, where it was like 80-90%. They didn't think that, and only a handful did.
92% of Canadians are on the. I think that my neighbors are largely morally good.
Right. Now, I mean, Canada, like 40 million people compared to 350 odd million here. But yeah, that to see that disparity, like, I don't know what the trend line is. Cause again, I saw that report. I don't know, like was that number closer to Canada's like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, and it shifted? Like,
well,
in the
Pew
last
has
10
never
years?
asked this question before, apparently. This is the first time that they've thought to ask it. So it will be interesting to see how it trends in the years to come. It's so stark relative to like Germany and South Korea and the UK and Japan and Australia and Canada. Like, why are we... Because my instinct would be this has probably gotten worse in the last 20 years, and my go-to would be to blame it on the internet and social media and the phones.
Yeah, I was so ready to pin it on that, right? The information silo and the algorithm and all of this stuff, but everybody's exposed to that. Right.
That exists everywhere. That exists in all of these other
what else is there to explain it then? Like, it's not like Americans are like bad people compared. Like, so like, what is the driving force? Like, what is it about?
I think that there has always been in the American character a belief about the antipathy or an antipathy toward even your fellow American. There is that bootstraps, nobody's looking out for me. We're going to go it alone sort of mentality that I think has always existed. Right. In the American character, and maybe there was a time in the immediate post-World War II era where we got this romantic idea that America was going to do its thing collectively, and maybe Americans were largely good, but I don't think that was always the case. Right? There's something to that sort of raw, there will be blood American capitalism that has infected us about the way that we view our fellow citizens, I think, for a very, very long time.
That's true. But there seems to be this added component here where it's not like, hey, rugged individualism, go it alone, I'm not counting on anybody to help me. That makes sense. Like that's one thing. But to think negatively of your fellow American to the point where you think that they're a bad person. Not like they're mistaken in policy, that they are a bad person. Like, that's the ballgame. I mean, you can't deal with somebody you think is a bad person, and that is unique in America, and I don't know where that's coming from. And I don't know.
I can't even blame it on Trump. I mean, he's a symptom of it, and he certainly took advantage of it. But you think back to, like, Barack Obama talking about people clinging to their guns and to their religion and that sort of stuff. You think back to, and this is now entering the Trump era, but Hillary's comment about the deplorables. Yeah,
basket of deplorables, was it?
It doesn't strike me as particularly new to Trump. Trump weaponized it, and the quadrennial American apocalyptic shit show, which is our presidential national elections. You can go back, and I have before in things that I've written, and shown that we have this tendency to claim that every 4 years, if we don't elect this person, then the country will be over because of how bad this other group is. And they both say it, right? They both sides say it, and then the country continues on. I don't know if it's like that in Canada when you get to the prime minister election or the national elections, where it's the country as you know it is going to be over unless we get rid of Justin Trudeau. Maybe it is that bad elsewhere. Yeah. I have no.
But the survey does track with the lack of social services that exist in America compared to other countries, right? Because, like, if you think that my fellow American is bad, you would not want to support, like, some sort of big bucket, like everybody pooling our resources together for healthcare, or pooling our resources for, like, public transit to be, like, more widespread than just, like, the city center. Like, it tracks with all of the decisions that have been made for generations, right? Like, so even though this is maybe the first time that this particular question was asked, it does track with historical patterns of America to where, like, I don't trust that you're going to spend your Social Security disability money or you're claiming it for the right reasons, you know? And lately, a lot of that energy has been shifted towards, like, illegal immigrants, right? But if the results of the survey are accurate, people have a similar view, take a dim view on their own fellow American citizen, right? Like, if you...
How close do you think it is to that thing that we've talked about many times before, which is people hate the public schools, but they like their neighborhood public school, right? They're convinced that everything is going to shit, and it's the same thing we used to talk about. I think we had a segment. Well, I forget what the fuck we called it back in the day.
My congressman's cool, like, you know, like...
my congressman's cool, but I hate Congress. Let's, like, throw all the bums out, but not my guy. Yeah. I think I had some stupid proprietary name.
It was like a lengthy, Yeah,
it doesn't matter. The idea was everybody hates Congress, but we keep re-electing the same assholes to Congress on the throw the bums out ticket, everybody but my bum.
Yeah.
How much of that is what's going on here? Where it's like, if we polled our fellow Americans and said, do you think that Americans are morally good? And more than half of people are like, no, everybody fucking sucks. And it's like, well, but what about the people in your life? What about the people in your city? What about... So it's like, because you have all of these... Similarly, on the immigration question, you have people who, like, deport them all. Everybody, you know, get rid of the rotten illegals. And it's like, well, but... You know, not my kid's best friend's family. Those are good people.
Cool. He
works down at the gas station. This is a good guy. I've seen him. He works hard. It's wrong to get rid of that guy.
Yeah, it is remarkable how persistent that thinking is. Like where it's like other people are abusing the whatever, you know, the tuition assistance, but I'm not. Other people are on the dole when they shouldn't, but I'm not. I actually need it. Like in other schools, they're indoctrinating children about, like, you know, trans issues, but my school is great. Like, everything is like other people are doing bad things, but when I do it, it's legitimate. So it's like, for whatever reason, people are like, I'm going to judge myself by my intentions, and I'm going to judge you by, like, one outlier action that I read somewhere, and I'm going to project that to everybody else. And it's a weird way to see the world.
Same poll says 39% of U.S. adults say that homosexuality is morally wrong. Which
what's that number?
39%.
Oh, wow. Still, that's pretty high.
That's high. So 25 years ago, the number probably would have been 85%. I don't remember. But you look at like Gallup polling through the years where they have asked like the gay marriage question, for example. It's like they didn't even think to ask it until like the early 90s or something. And when they first asked it, it was like 95% of people opposed to gay marriage. And then like a watershed moment happens and all of a sudden nobody fucking cares anymore. It does seem weirdly stubbornly high that 40% of people think that homosexuality is morally wrong, but how neatly that tracks with like weekly church attendance is probably
that's right.
worth looking into.
Right. And you know that the way that I don't know how that question was framed, but are they saying about 40% are against gay marriage or 40% are against just homosexuality?
No,
just
homosexuality as a moral wrong. Yeah.
Just being gay. Like even if you're just like, hey, I'm just gay, I'm not going to get married or have kids. Like just being gay is morally wrong.
Right. While U.S. adults are also among the most accepting of a couple of behaviors, using marijuana and gambling, just 23% of Americans say using marijuana is morally unacceptable. So 3/4 of Americans say that using marijuana is morally fine, it's interesting because why has the moral prohibition on drugs been so incredibly degraded while the moral prohibition on homosexuality has not?
It's probably the religious part of it, right? Because I suspect that through a religious lens, they probably take a similar view with weed and alcohol use, right? So it's like, even though like alcohol is legal and weed is not in half the states, I think it's like these are mind-altering substances and maybe you should avoid them and they're not good for your health, blah, blah, blah. But with the gay thing, there is some sort of religious angle that people are taking.
The reason that I tie it to like this idea that over half of Americans view their fellow citizens as morally bad, and how I tie that to whether or not American public opinion matters at all, that question is, what does it mean to watch a culture sort of unravel? And I know that I can't say that definitively because I don't know what this survey would have said 25 years ago in terms of how we trust our fellow citizens or believe our fellow citizens to be morally bad or not. And while I made the point that I think that there is something fundamental to the American character to be distrustful of one another, I don't think it was I don't accept that it was always this bad.
Yeah, there's just no way, unless we're just delusional.
And if we are incapable of sort of accepting our fellow Americans in good faith, of assuming them to be motivated by basically the same things that we are motivated by, and therefore, like, because that to me is the fundamental question of morality, right? Is, does this person basically want for themselves the same thing that I want for me, right? Which is, like, I mean, I know that's not a precise treatment of the golden rule, but it is sort of a roundabout way of getting there. If we don't believe in one another, that speaks directly to whether or not American public opinion matters, right? Because to some extent, you need the buy-in of your citizenry for public opinion to matter at all. So if you assume that like everybody sucks and is bad, who fucking cares what everybody else thinks about the direction of the country? And like if we are completely unable to speak in one voice about anything and we don't trust one another, like what are we doing?
That's a good And also we are less than 4 months away from the 250th anniversary, right? Like, I don't know what the Trump administration has planned for this big number, other than some UFC fighting in June on Trump's birthday. But like, if half of the country thinks less than kind thoughts towards the other half, like it doesn't seem like this is the right environment to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country. I don't know what it was like back in 1976 when it was 200. I saw some on YouTube, there was some sort of video floating around about they did some sort of nice little package on America, and it was very like wholesome. But I don't know if you think we're going to see this go around, or is it going to be some sort of AI? Like,
I certainly have no appetite for it. Like I can't imagine that a lot of people are feeling warmly. Like there's the feelings of American pride these days feel so entirely caught up in questions of negative partisanship that like it's hard to imagine even like the most anodyne patriotic expression being anything but also a middle finger at your political enemies.
Right.
It's hard to conceive of anything that can be said that's positive about this country that will not be either willfully misinterpreted as a middle finger to your political enemies or flatly correctly understood as a middle finger to your political enemies.
And what's weird is even on the international stage, like the World Baseball Classic concluded last night, the U.S. lost to Venezuela, which is kind of odd because of what happened to Maduro not too long ago. But like there was an article I read today where
it is amazing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not until you made that connection for me did I put two and two together. And I watched the entire game last night.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Yeah, I mean,
and it did not. Like I don't know what the firewall is in my brain, but I was, and maybe it's because I'm not on like I'm sure like that was all over Twitter and the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it hadn't even occurred to me, and I am deep in the we talked about the Venezuela thing multiple times.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like
and
a couple months ago. Yeah.
It did not for whatever. There's no neural connection between what happened there with the Maduro thing and the baseball game that I watched last night. It's incredible, the firewall that exists there.
That is interesting, yeah. What's interesting is the day after, there was like some Yankee fan who was like writing about, I think it was like a Substack or somewhere, I'll see if I can send the link to you, or basically they had misgivings about the way some American players were like they were kind of undercutting the effort to just root for your country, right? Because the way some players
to be fair, because I watched last night and Bryce Harper goes around third base and he points at the flag on his shoulder while looking menacingly over at the Venezuelan team. Yeah. It's like now that I think back on that in terms of we went and fucking kidnapped their president while he slept in his bed. That does feel a little bit fucking weird.
Yeah, it was very like abrasive in some ways, and you know the other countries are celebrating. Obviously, they love their country also, but it seems like it's more like joyful instead of like "fuck you, we're stronger, we got the bigger dick." You know, like it's
right.
That's kind of the perception some people have on that, which is unfortunate because like there should be like a not controversial to just root for the American team when you're competing internationally.
And the WBC, by the way, the World Baseball Classic is great. I always forget how much fun it is.
Yeah, that is one of the better ideas that they've come up with.
I thought it was lame. I remember thinking it was lame watching it the first year and maybe the second one after that. But the last couple have been just fucking spectacular.
Right. You just need, as long as you get buy-in, because, you know, the concern is, okay, the season's about to start. This is like kind of the spring training period. Like, how much effort are these players going to put? But, you know, like, I mean, Venezuela had to go through Japan and America to win. I mean, and I think the manager was doing it for free. Like, Ronald Acuna apparently speaks English now. Like, it was very, like, an entertaining watch. It's a good product they have on there.
And watching it, and I actually said this to my Little League team this evening at the end of practice. I was watching that game last night, and it was undeniable which side wanted it more. The Venezuelans fucking wanted it more. Yeah. And it doesn't always matter which side wants it more. But oftentimes, especially in these sorts of competitions, like just wanting it more matters. You go to like college bowl season, the team that is more motivated to be there wins 9 times out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with pedigree or schedule or even the talent of the people on the field. It's just which group of dudes showed up that day and really fucking wanted it. And the Venezuelans showed up yesterday, and in every moment it was clear that they and their fans in the stands just wanted it more.
Right.
And I wonder, like, I mean, maybe it's just a function of the U.S. doesn't have the sort of – because when like Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge are on the same team and Bobby Witt Jr., and yeah, sure, they're all great baseball players, but do they form anything like a cohesive, coherent identity? No, not really, because America is – the fucking Venezuelans who come play baseball here. It is the Japanese who come play baseball here. It is all of the Dominicans and the Canadians, and yes, also the Bobby Witt Juniors and the Bryce Harpers.
And the Italians who are all from like Jersey.
What's that?
The Italian team that's mostly composed of players from America.
Right, the Italians, like Aaron Nola is a fucking Philadelphia. He's not Italian. He's no more Italian than I am. And I'm watching it last night, and it's like, what does it mean? Like, I'm rooting for the Americans, just sort of by default, even though I like – it's easy to root for the team that obviously wants it more also, though, right? Like, when they're out there and they're having fun and they just obviously really fucking want it. It's like, those guys are fun, right? And I don't care for Bryce Harper or Aaron Judge. It was just funny coming off of also the experience of watching USA Hockey and like that was a group, like they cohered, they made sense, and they fucking wanted it. I can't say that they wanted it more than the Canadians did, but whatever. Right. They won, and I felt a patriotic chub appearing, right? Yeah. And there was no patriotism whatsoever watching that WBC team last night. And I'm not sure what that is exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's just the composition of the players, like this Judge guy does not seem to be like a rah-rah team guy. I saw a clip of him try to like hype up the team like in the locker room, and like there was like just a dud. Like
right, that's what I mean. Like there's no there because there is no coherent racial American identity or even like cultural cohesive identity. When you watch the Japanese team, like that's a team of Japanese. You watch the Venezuelans, there's a bunch of Venezuelans and Dominicans and whatever. Like there is a coherence to that lends itself to something that is just sort of missing from the American side of things.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know how much that speaks to we don't fucking like each other very much and American public opinion doesn't matter anymore.
Right. And also, what's interesting is, the American players on that team, like for most of their time, they're kind of rivals during the regular season. You play for the Yankees, I play for the Mariners or whatever. So like they have all of these other like cliques that they have, all these friend groups. And now they're just kind of like, hey, you guys are both Americans, like play together. And the sport, it doesn't lend itself like hockey where you need that chemistry. Like you could just be like a pitcher and pitch, and you can be like a outfielder and do whatever. So I don't know if there's just not enough of a thing. I mean, they could have easily won yesterday. I mean, they tied it up with your boy Harper, and then Venezuela. I guess it just meant more, and they stole second, and they got the go ahead run. But it was a very close game. So like, despite the lack of,
it certainly could have gone either way.
Yeah, it could have gone either way. Yeah.
Speaking of, and I'm sure we mentioned this last time the World Series was on, Ken Rosenthal still has a shitty microphone on the, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Is it just some sort? Because he's not like the audio guy, right? Like he just, I'm gonna wear my stupid tie thing, and then I don't think he handles the technical aspects.
Yeah, he can't be in charge of the AV stuff, but like they go down to him for an interview in the dugout. And it sounds like shit still.
Yeah, it's weird.
This is Fox. Like, Fox has all of the money in the world to make sure that the microphones don't sound like shit. And they continue to sound like shit. I'm utterly mystified by it.
It's very bizarre. Anyway. It's some sort of sabotage by the AV team. Like, I hate this fucking guy, He seemed like not a pleasant fellow. Do you think the Venezuela team is going to ask to speak to... Maduro? They're like, we don't recognize the other guy. Like, my mom loves Maduro. Can I talk to him? Having one.
Like going to the White House, but instead you go to Rikers or wherever the fuck they've gone.
Rikers for pictures.
All right, let's go to the CBS Evening News and find out whether or not senior national correspondent Mark Strassmann got off a good one.
With 7 tons of something moving at more than 40,000 miles an hour across the skies of the central U.S. today, and it came with a sonic boom, otherwise normal Tuesday morning. So what was it? CBS's Mark Strassmann got answers.
Watch screen right. Something streaking over Mercer, Pennsylvania. Truck driver James Eaker had thoughts.
Oh, what the was that?
How would you describe your reaction in that moment?
Unfiltered. It took me a second to register, that, honestly, for a second there, I just thought I was seeing things.
Some type of rocket or something burning.
From Maryland to Michigan, people and cameras saw the same thing. A 7-ton meteoroid hurtling 45,000 miles per hour. They also heard something.
Something went boom earlier. It shook us over here.
It was a shockwave as atmospheric pressure exploded the meteoroid over Medina County, Ohio.
Some fragments, some tiny pieces of it, actually made it to the ground.
Bill Cook charts plummeting space objects for NASA when they're big enough. This one, 6 feet in diameter, was too tiny to track.
This could just be a small asteroid that hung out in the belt and eventually migrated here, or it could be a fragment from a larger one. We really don't know.
Online theories were more definitive. A streak of revelry on St. Patrick's Day.
A fireball this size flashes over North America about once a month. 95% of small asteroids and meteoroids vaporize before they ever have a chance to land on Earth or on social media. It's the other 5% I'm worried about, Mark. You and me both. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow.
All right, Abe. Did Mark Strassmann joining Tony DeCopel in studio at the end of that segment get off a good one?
I didn't hear a good one.
Ooh, sorry, Mark. Try again next time.
But that was a great segment. Yeah, what is Strassmann doing in the studio? Is he shoring up support to keep his job? Like, is he in trouble?
It feels awkward, doesn't it? What's he doing at the desk?
And also, my boy DeCopel, apparently his ratings are going south.
Oh, yeah? It's not my fault. We've been watching.
It's below 4 million viewers. CBS has always been the third banana on the broadcast side, but it's not going well. But yeah, at the beginning when he was like, something is streaking, like that was close to good.
This report has got just a flavor of America in every moment. It's a heavily bearded truck driver, and then the NASA dweeb.
The NASA
is just the dweeb. Would you believe that this guy sits in front of the computer all day and looks at star charts and tries to figure out where meteoroids are?
And this is too small for his his attention. He doesn't deal with this. Yeah. That was great.
You've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast. Bob and Abe. Find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us. The opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Mark Gillig, tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com for more from Mark. Abe, it's been a couple of weeks. I assume you've been to the movies. What did you go see? Yes, I watched quite a few movies, mostly at home, but I did go see Hamnet finally. Oh, yeah? Pretty decent movie, although I caught myself, I was like, oh, maybe I'm a bad person for thinking this. But so Hamnet, this Shakespeare guy, his kid dies. It's very sad. But what was weird is as I'm watching the movie, so this is like hundreds of years ago. Like, what is it? I don't know how long ago the Shakespeare guy was around. And was it like 1600 or something, 16-something, right, or 15-something or whatever. Back then, unfortunately, babies died all the time, women give birth, there's all these reasons why babies don't make it to 5 years old or whatever, right? So I just thought, in that world, it's commonplace for kids to die. And the way that the parents were acting in the movie, it was like the sensibilities of the 21st century modern medicine. Like any tragedy of a kid dying would be like catastrophic. And this is not a good thought that I had. It just was just in my head. I was like, oh, wow. I'm not saying that they were overreacting to the death of their child. I'm not saying that. Right. But just briefly, I was like, wow, they're taking this very hard in an era where kids died all the time. This seems like I don't understand, because I read Hamlet a few times in high school and then after. and I've seen the Kenneth Branagh movie, certainly. I don't remember it. Like, I guess I just don't understand. This is based on a book or something, because, like, Hamlet is not about the death of a child. So it's weird to me that, like, because I think that isn't the great emotional denouement to this movie Shakespeare's wife sitting there and watching a performance of Hamlet and recognizing on the stage him somehow expressing his grief about his dead son in this play. And like, I've never picked up on that in my exposure to Hamlet before, so I don't fully get it. And didn't the woman who plays, didn't she win the Oscar this past weekend?
This past weekend, the Oscars occurred, which seemed kind of late, like mid-March. Usually it's like late February, early March. But she won. I think that was the only major category that Hamnet won. Like, and it was basically like a split between Sinners and One Battle After Another. But yeah, she did win, and that was like the one where it was kind of like a lock. Like the other ones, it could have gone either way. Like your boy Chalamet was supposed to win the Best Actor, and Michael B. Jordan got it. So the other races were close, but like for that one, I think it was like for sure she's winning.
Was it good? Was the movie any good?
It was fine.
No.
It was like, it was fine.
It's weird to get these things about Shakespeare's life when there is serious scholarship that insists that he was 47 different people or a woman, or like we don't actually know much of his actual biography for certain.
My theory is that William Shakespeare is a serial killer of other playwrights. So he would like let's work together, collab, and then you never hear from them, and then he would amass this catalog of plays. Clearly, that's the most likely situation.
You should run that by the robot and see what he thinks.
I also, so Hamnet, totally fine. And I will say on the Best Picture front, every movie that was nominated, there were some faults. I did not see The Secret Agent, some Brazilian movies, but everything else that I did see, you can find fault with Sinners, you can find fault with One Battle After Another, that ping pong movie. So like it was like just pick one. Like it didn't really matter. I don't think it was too big of a surprise that One Battle After Another got it.
I want to see One Battle, and I want to see the Marty Supreme movie. I've heard interesting things about both.
Did you like the Adam Sandler one, the Safdie one with
we never watched Uncut Gems. I've never seen it.
It has it's not the same movie, but it's got that energy of like just like erratic, like anxiety inducing kind of environment that they create.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's worth a watch. It's interesting that Leonardo DiCaprio he got James Cameron his Best Picture. I mean his Best Director. He got Scorsese a Best Picture, a Best Director, and then now he got Paul Thomas Anderson a Best Director. Like he's like the through line to those three directors winning, which is interesting. But the other movie that I saw, it was a documentary, The Alabama Solution. This is like
sounds bad. If you're telling me that there's something called the Alabama Solution, my guess is that it's not great.
Basically, it's about the prison system and the conditions that inmates are subjected to. It's like as horrible as you might imagine. And basically the reason why it's called the Alabama Solution is because the federal government, like 10 years ago, I think this was like end of Obama, beginning of Trump's first term, like the Justice Department was like, hey, what the fuck? Like, there's a lot, people are getting killed. These correction officers are killing people, raping them, high suicide, like a lot of, like just the conditions are like, from a third world country, basically. And Alabama's like, we don't want the federal government meddling in. We'll find an Alabama solution to this Alabama problem. But yeah, like, however they describe hell, like in these religious texts, like I imagine that like hell on earth is that, like just being in those prison environments. It is the worst possible condition to be in. I'm sure there are other worse conditions in other countries. I'm just talking about in America. It's just a very depressing look at what it is. And to this day, I think they still haven't found that solution. They're basically kind of kicking the can down the road, and like they haven't fixed it. But it's worth a watch. But I will say, like, if you're having a good day, like, don't watch it. Like, if you're already,
if you want to wallow a bit,
if you're in a wallowing, like if it's rainy, it's a weekend, and you want to just watch something depressing, then that's your movie. And
along those lines, I think I don't know if I was reading this or I heard it on the radio, but somebody was talking about there was some reforms were made that, like, some prison reforms were made. I don't know if this was here in Virginia or somewhere else. There's that old scam where, like, some company gets awarded the right to provide phone service inside of a prison, right?
Yeah.
And then they charge
like the family and friends who have to call in. Yeah.
Right. And you get charged fucking $18 a minute or something absurd like that, right? So there's prison reform bills that come in and are like, we're not going to have this anymore. This is wrong and bad. Like, phones are outrageously cheap these days. Why are we charging an arm and a leg? This is not fair to anyone. Justice must be done. And so they fixed that problem. But of course, this is money that the prison system has gotten accustomed to, right? Like, the kickback from the phone company is money that they need, and, like, because they've had their budgets slashed at by the state government or whatever through the years, they got accustomed to the $100 million a year that would come in to the state prison system through their contract with fucking rip off AT&T, whatever the fuck, right? And so there's a hole in the budget, and so some other tech company pops up and is like, hey, we're going to do tablets. We can provide you tablets for your inmates. And then they charge them an arm and a leg for access to tablets, and they take the phones away, and now they're charging them for the ability to, like, use Zoom or Google Meet or whatever on the tablet, and it's some outrageous charge. And I was listening to this report or reading it, I don't remember which, and just, like, getting increasingly sad.
Yeah,
there's surely we can figure out a way to house society's unpleasant individuals without making it just incredibly punishing for everyone involved. Because it's like it is the old thing about how when you treat someone like a brute, it brutalizes you. It's the sin is not just against the person who is being treated as an animal. The sin is against your own humanity when you treat other people as animals or less than human.
And the system, and it's not probably unique to Alabama, but the system is so corrupt in Alabama, and the staffing levels for correctional officers is so low that, and the pay is so low that one of the contributing factors to all of this contraband that makes its way into prisons, because these guys are talking to the director, the film production company, using cell phones that they got snuck in, and who's sneaking it in? Correctional officers who are making a side,
making like $23,000 a year or something, right?
And
like,
so basically, they're making this extra money through, like, actually, so nobody has to, like, it's not like South Park where you have to, like, stick it in your ass or whatever. It's just like the correctional officers will get it to you. And in the documentary also mentioned this, that the job is not a good proposition for most people. Like, you don't get paid that much, and then you're exposed to very harsh conditions. You may get shanked. There's not a lot of you, so you're overmatched if somebody wants to do anything. So it's a very hazardous job.
And it's back to what I was saying. It's brutalizing.
Right. And also, and that brutalizing in a perverse way draws in the wrong type. So the candidate pool, the pool of candidates is a little shaky, and so they highlighted one such correctional officer who beat to death an inmate, like beat to death an inmate, and he's giving like a deposition, and he's just like, I don't know who that guy is. Like, they're showing pictures of the result of his actions, and the state apparatus, to save face or whatever, they need to defend the correction officer and the system that exists. So all of the money, the attorney general, the governor of the state, they're all like, hey, we're doing a good job. Fuck you. He's a criminal. Like, you're taking so instead of just looking at the facts of the case, like, this guy, like, just because he wanted to beat the shit out of this guy to death, and he scared a lot of the eyewitnesses into just not saying anything. And the one person who did say something, they beat him up too. So it's like, it's a very, just, like I said, hell on earth. Alabama Solution, if you want to watch that. And then there's on a like lighter fare, Louis Theroux's Manosphere documentary, which is on I think on Netflix. He kind of just went in. I initially thought when it was Manosphere, it would be like those dude bro podcast guys, but like he kind of went like the new crop of douchebag dudes.
Yeah, the layer down at the TikTok and Instagram level.
Yeah, but they're all peddling the same shit, and they're feeding it to these impressionable dopes. Like they follow these two guys. One of them is like suicidal, and so like he latches and homeless, and he latches onto. I don't know if you're like, it's kind of hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody in that mindset, but like I'm imagining what is the appeal? Like, is it like, oh, they're projecting an image of strength, which is this cartoonish, like putting down women and other men down, and they say, oh, that's my way out of this bad situation that I'm in. I don't know what the appeal is, but like it seems to draw in these impressionable, just dumbasses.
Well, it's because it's a caricature of American success, right? Like these are guys who get fucking super ripped, super jacked, appear to have all sorts of money with lots of cars, and go out and spend all sorts of money at the club or whatever.
Right. And like have a bunch of women just kind of hanging around them. And then they...
the facade of the American dream, at least as understood to not include the family end of things, obviously, but like of just easy success and combined with... Because it's very... At least what little of it I've been exposed to, it's very much power of positive thinking on like slightly perverted.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's all envisioned, like The Secret. Like you're envisioning
manifesting and all this.
Manifesting the way you want the world to be. And like in a deeply narcissistic and often misogynistic sort of way. Right. Certainly.
Right. And it's all just like a put on, which is weird because the thing, I don't know if it's because he's a foreign kind of presence, you know, like and that's not just like America, Britain kind of like Louis Theroux is just like a foreign presence into any environment that he gets into. It's almost like this world is like this pro wrestling, just very like fake, but everybody's pretending it's real kind of world. And then you have Louis Theroux just like asking just normal questions, and it throws them off. It's weird how they're like they don't know how to
this is the best. The best journalists often seem like aliens,
right?
But somehow innocuous to the people that they are talking to.
Right.
Like John Ronson, I think, is spectacular at the exact thing that you're talking about here.
That's right, yeah.
Which is like being sort of astonished and mystified by everything going on while also not being terribly judgmental, which allows everyone to just reveal themselves to him in ways that like anybody with, to some extent, you think like, anybody with a moral conscience, they wouldn't be able to reveal themselves to in this way. But they feel somehow comfortable. And it's such a good... It's just, for me, that's what I want out of my journalists. I don't want you showing up with these preconceived ideas or the...
And trying to get like gotcha moments. Yeah, like it's just like kind of let it unfold, you know.
You don't need to do the condemning.
Yes.
The condemning is done by the assholes themselves.
Right. And one thing that I could sense in all of these dude bros is that they seem to have a they're trying to prop up their self-esteem. Like I think there's something there because on occasion, you know, they keep like trying to like they're trying to plead their case with Louis Theroux, where they're like, "You're probably gonna make me look bad." Like, "Oh, I know this is a hit job," but they're still kind of trying to like argue themselves like they're not that. Like, which is kind of this weird. Like, what is it that you're trying to get out of this moment? And there are times where they speak to the camera, and Louis Theroux's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, I thought this was like social media." And they're like, "No, we're just talking here." Like,
right? Pretend the camera's not there.
Yeah, like you don't need to do all that. But no, it was interesting. It's just again, I mean, it's not as depressing as the Alabama situation, but like, just the fact that there are so many of these guys. Because I'm like, maybe I'm just old now, but like, almost all of them, I knew one of them, like Miles, whatever, but most of the others are like unknown to me. So this is continuing. Like, there's just all these different pockets online of these new kids that are coming up into teenage, early 20s period where they're very impressionable, and they're buying whatever they're selling, this nonsense of treating people like shit.
All right. Yeah, I watched the trailer for that, and that looks like it's worth checking out. I have not done a great job of watching anything with Lori out of town. I get to the time that the kids go to bed and I'm just pooped. It's a sad, lonely life not having your old lady around.
Yeah.
We watched. Did you run through everything that you watched?
Yeah. That's a gist.
We watched The Two Towers because I didn't think Lori would be too bummed about missing that, and not the extended edition. It was 3 hours was plenty to make the kids watch all in one go.
They enjoyed it.
Yeah, they did because it's fairly fucking great. I don't know that I like it as much as the Fellowship of the Ring, just in terms of how satisfying it is as its own movie. Certainly as a chapter in this trilogy, it is a worthy entry, and it does feel like it's spinning its wheels a little bit at times even in the 3-hour version, and I don't remember enough about the extended edition off the top of my head to know if the pacing is actually better in that one, which sounds probably backwards, but I don't know. I will say what happens at the end, because of course Gandalf comes back. He didn't die after all, and he's now Gandalf the White. And he says, because they go and they're going to go hang out at Helm's Deep and hide behind the giant fucking wall and try to not be ruined by the oncoming orc army. And Gandalf says, look for me in the east as the sun rises on the 5th day or whatever. And it's a great moment. Aragorn and the king of Rohan, they ride out at the last moment in this shining moment of glory, like we're going to stand up for humans and humanity one last time and for our kingdom, etc. And a big proud moment. And then Gandalf shows up on the top of the hill there and then rides down and fucks up the orc army. But it's like it's not entirely clear for all of this buildup. You just see this one shot of the horse army running into the orcs, and then we cut somewhere else, and then we cut back to what's going on at Helm's Deep, and the whole fucking battle is over. And we didn't even get to see it. Like, because we see like 30 minutes of this battle going on, and then we don't see any of Gandalf and the horses fucking mopping up 8,000 orcs or whatever. It's sort of disappointing. I want to see all of that.
Yeah, I wonder why they cut that out. Yeah, they trimmed that fat. Like, that's pretty important.
Yeah. But it's great. Andy Serkis as Gollum this is sort of the one, I think, where he shines the most. There's a heavy focus on the Gollum character in this one. And if there's anything that does sort of get the short end, I think, relative to the extended edition, now that I think about it for a second, it is, what's his name? The Sean Bean character in the first movie is the one who has that moment of weakness where he tries to steal the ring from Frodo and then he dies defending the other hobbits. His character's brother almost makes the same mistake as Sean Bean does in trying to turn the ring over to his father to give mankind a chance to use the ring for their own ends, but then ultimately chooses not to. I think that the redemptive arc of the second brother is more fleshed out in the extended edition, and it feels sort of quick and not clear why it's happening in The Two Towers. But those are very particular concerns that nobody fucking cares about, I'm sure. Good movies. Lovely movies, and we will watch Return of the King at some point soon with the kids, so it's all fresh in their minds. I'm trying to think of anything else that I consumed that is noteworthy. It's been all baseball all the time around here in terms of my mental attention. And the season doesn't even start until Monday. It's been just dealing with schedules and people with their very particular requests. And
what is it like through May? Like, what is, now that it's going to start next week, it's going to be what, like the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's basically every night starting Monday night until the beginning of June, and then All-Star season starts after that. So like that's another month where it's heavy on the baseball stuff. But by the time we get to the end of May, it will be a tremendous relief that I'm done with the regular season and can just focus on all-star stuff.
Did you say every night? Was that the schedule last year?
Yeah, it's going to be basically every night because Monday night I'm going to have a majors game most weeks. Tuesday night I'm going to have what's called intermediate baseball with Calvin. Wednesday night I will be umpiring. Thursday night I will either have a game or be umpiring, and then Friday night I will either have a game or be umpiring, and then Saturdays I will either have nothing or I will be umpiring, and Sundays we will have practice. So it's effectively every night.
Do they try to sneak in more games on Saturdays, or is it the same kind of couple of games?
We have so basically in theory we don't play games on Saturday, but because we want to do interleague, there are all the other leagues in town do weekend games. So if we want to play other leagues, we have to play them on the weekends for the most part. And it's to our benefit and to our kids' benefit to be able to play other teams and teams from other cities in the relatively near to here. But then also you throw on top of that, like we have what we call opening day, where we all play on a Saturday, like all day long. Like there's 8 games in a row, back to back or whatever. And there's another couple Saturdays where, hey, it's this big, come down to the park on a Saturday and we'll play baseball. So it's like by the time you do 2 of those and then do 3 interleague weekends, and it's only an 8-week season, it's like, well, I guess I'm down at the ballpark 58 out of the next 60 days, and there's just no fucking getting around it. All of the doing stuff for the kids' baseball lives is relatively fine. There's something so punishing about working with grown-ups in the administration of this league who either don't care but seem to want to be believing that they want other people to believe that they care, so they stick around, or who do care and like can't see past the end of their own nose in terms of what's best for the league. And I've been a stay-at-home dad for some time now, so it's silly of me to compare it to life in the working world, I suppose. But what made me good at running a stupid fucking pizza restaurant was keeping top of mind that my personal concerns were secondary to the concerns of my employees and to the ongoing concern of actually making money as a business, right?
Yeah.
Like if I had to take on an unpleasantness, I would take it on because it was what was good for the people who worked for me and for the business as a whole. And I probably took that too seriously, right? Like one of the things that made that an untenable situation for me is that I was taking on too much, working 100 hours or more a week, and for what? For a small amount of a salary and ungodly profits for some other asshole.
Right.
And also to try to make the miserable experience of being an employee at a pizza restaurant to mitigate the unpleasantness of that experience for my coworkers and the people who worked for me. And so, but like that's what made me good at that job. And I was really, really good at running a restaurant like that because I had this commitment to the people around me and to the bigger picture that not everybody does, and an ability to manage people and personalities and to do the logistics, right? To sort of keep a general handle on a truly difficult problem and a chaotic and ever-changing problem, right? So it's like I'm a capable person. I can do this sort of thing. It's very similar with the Little League situation, where I'm effectively managing a whole bunch of personalities who oftentimes don't seem terribly interested in anything but their own personal goals here, and who don't understand that like what we're trying to do is to put on a little league season for a bunch of 7-year-olds and 7 to 12-year-olds, basically.
Right.
Like there's just, it's like they keep forgetting that that's what we're actually doing here. But I am able to, and the reason that I'm good at this also, is I can sort of keep the whole big picture in my head at once and hopefully keep everything moving in the direction of that particular goal.
Right.
Even if it's fucking hard. But like, and all of that is a very non-specific sort of angsty understanding of what's going on with the league. On the specific level, it's like, there's an element of everybody wishes that things either were different or they were the way that they were before. Like those are sort of the two competing camps. I want things to be different or I want things to be the same. No one ever fucking puts pen to paper and makes something happen in the direction of those desires.
Yes.
They just say it.
Yeah.
They just talk about it. They just fucking complain. And then I show up and everybody's like, man, I sure wish things were different. And this other group of people that I also like are like, man, I sure wish things were the same. And I'm like, oh, I can see the thing that you're getting at, which is things can be changed in a positive way if only someone would do it. And then I can see your perspective also, which is there's a lot of value here in the character and culture of this league that we want to preserve if only somebody would put pen to paper and do it or push things in that direction. Nobody ever counts on somebody actually fucking doing it.
Yeah.
and it's like I become the immediate target of whoa.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing here?
Right.
I know that we said we were going to do all these things, or we said we wanted these things to be the same or these things to be different. Oh. I didn't know anybody was going to actually fucking try and do it. So just who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, that's
trying to do things. I'm like, you made me the fucking vice president of this league.
Right.
I thought to do things, right?
You would think that would be met with gratitude. Like, thank God, because I don't want to do it. Like, somebody took on that role, and now we got a functioning. System.
It is always gratitude up until the point where I'm rubbing up against something that is not in their perceived self-interest.
Yeah.
Right? It's without fail. It's, oh man, you're doing a great job. I'm so glad that you've taken over and are doing this and doing that. And then it's like, but I don't know about that because I would much rather this kid be on this team because of this reason. And surely we can make an exception here.
Yeah.
It's like, no. We're fixing this, and we cannot fix it by doing the same thing that got us into this fucking stupid situation in the first place.
Right.
Just because you think in this moment this is how it ought to be.
I wonder if there's any overlap between this group of people or this sort of mindset and like the backseat driver phenomenon where like people are not contributing to it, but they have a lot of opinions about like what you should be doing. And I don't know if they think this is helping, which is generally not helping, where you're just like, oh, do it this way or that way, but you're not contributing in any kind of significant way. And it's just like, I don't want to be responsible for the action, so I'm going to try to puppeteer you into doing my bidding. And then if anything goes sideways, I'll blame you, or I won't defend you if somebody else blames you. And I don't know what that mindset comes from, where it comes from, but I've noticed a lot of that.
For years, the joke was, can we see the bylaws of this little league? Because there's supposed to be a constitution, and then there's supposed to be governing bylaws. And the constitution should be fairly broad in the way that constitutions ought to be. And then you have a fairly detailed series of bylaws that actually govern the everyday working of the league. And the joke was, can we see the bylaws? And the bylaws simply, it's not clear that they ever existed, or if they did, they certainly were not this sort of operating Bible that they're meant to be. It was a few dashed off sentences about like picking up trash in the dugouts or something, right? Like very unhelpful in terms of the governance of a Little League. And so for years, the conversation has been we should have a proper constitution and set of operating bylaws. And there's this, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show, but it's the sort of thing that's actually really difficult to do by committee. And like it should be approved by committee. Like there should be a democratic process that goes through and revises and figures out what works and what doesn't, and then ultimately has a final yes or no kind of vote on the situation. I don't know if this made the show. I know that I've compared myself to Madison in the crafting of the Little League Constitution here. But like there's a reason that you credit the Constitution to just like one dude, right? Like the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson, not the sort of thing. Yes, it's important that 50 or 80 or whatever people sign the thing and put their names on it. Right. But like if Jefferson had tried to write that with 50 or 80 other dudes, it never would have fucking happened. Right. Somebody had to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and put it to paper and figure it out and start to hammer the fucking thing out. And then everybody gets mad at the fact that like, who are you to start making these sorts of decisions? So I'm not making any decisions. Right. But I'm putting it on the paper so we can move on from here maybe. Yeah.
You got to move the ball forward. Yeah, I don't understand that complaint. It's like we'll get nowhere if we approached it the way you're thinking, which is like, who are you? Well, who is anybody to do anything?
Right. It will not just come down from heaven. Right. Like I cannot just push a button and then there's a series of, I guess I could go on the stupid robot and get the robot to figure it out for me. Yeah.
You could also just make up like some mythology, like, hey, I was cleaning up the baseball field and
That's right. There's a filing cabinet here in the concession stand that nobody'd seen before. It was under the fridge somehow is this file. And it had all of this shit. It's great.
Not my doing. A lot of good ideas, guys. Yeah, let's implement it. And maybe that would work.
I don't know how. The other thing about this is I had to go to the District 14 Little League meeting. And, the people who do it, like, again, it's an all-volunteer thing. Nobody's pulling a salary for running the District 14 in Virginia Little League administration. It's a consistent experience that I have of being in the world, of being astonished that everything works as well as it does, given who and what is behind everything. Like how does this maintain? Like, how did we manage to somehow set up a system that keeps the train on the tracks, given who we've left in the conductor's seat or the engineer's seat in the meantime? Yeah. Like it's the infrastructure that we've established, and it's not just Little League baseball. It's fucking everything. Yeah. Right? Like, and to go back to the restaurant analogy, the franchise model works because they figured out a system, right? Like, half of the franchisees are fucking idiots who then hire a bunch of fucking idiots to be managers in the restaurants who then hire a bunch of fucking idiots. And if you're lucky, there's like 2 competent people at your average Domino's who know what the fuck is going on and can make sure that the pizzas get out the door. And yet there are 5,000 fucking Domino's and they managed to make it work. Right. Right? Yeah. Like if we had to start all of this over again, and like this is only going to get worse the more that we rely on and we become slaves to the fucking algo and we just again amuse ourselves to death in the Neil Postman understanding of things. But like, could we rebuild it if we needed to at this point? And it's not clear to me that we could. Like, I recognize that everything coasts along fairly well, but could we start the United States Postal Service tomorrow if we needed to start it from scratch? I don't think that we could.
Not tomorrow, but well, I mean, the troubling part about it is because of the modern technology that exists. Like maybe it would look different if it was started, but usually people would figure it out. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of things that we have that are like, I think hard to implement now, like from scratch. But like, I think eventually if there's a need, people will come together and coalesce around some idea. Like it would take some time. Maybe this is just my rosy outlook, but I think people would eventually figure it out because people figured it out before. People are not that different from 200 years ago or 250 years ago.
Yeah, but it was born of incredible necessity, and there's something about there's something about the coasting of decline that makes it more likely that collapse happens before that necessity. Like in order to properly motivate you to invent the thing or to properly fix the thing, it has to get real bad first.
Right. Yeah,
right? Like the need has to be pressing.
Right.
And because we're on like such a relatively cozy glide path, that necessity doesn't really exist right now.
Right. Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. And so, yeah, if the conditions were such, people would figure it out. But yeah, you're right. That people are too comfortable. And now, probably just ask the robot to help you out. Like, hey, how do we work the mail, or whatever? Like, we'll give you like an outline, all of the human knowledge is there.
There's an old expression about you find God in the garden, and I never did, right? Like I hate gardening. I hate every aspect of it. I don't want to be weeding. I don't understand plants. I don't understand. I've failed every time I've tried to do anything meaningful in terms of making things grow out there in the yard. It is just not something that I can wrap my head around, I suppose. No matter how much I fucking do the research and I figure out what plants should go here on a relative amount of shade, et cetera, et cetera. Fucking doesn't matter. I'm not going to get the ground cover to grow here. I just suck at that. I mention that only because I think that people go to like a little league or similar community organization. It's like to feel civically engaged, right? Like the same, like the thing with the PTO. When I was doing the PTO emails and like trying to raise money for the PTO on the PTO board, it's like me and the PTO ladies fucking hated that shit. Like it was just an awful chore that made us feel worse about everybody else in our community almost all the time. And like while I do get good feelings from the Little League because of the kids and because of the occasional good interaction with a fellow adult, for the most part, it's like it is incredibly punishing in terms of like what this civic engagement is actually doing to my view of my fellow civilians. It's not good. And I don't know if that's me or if that's just the nature of like I suspect it's at least partly me in terms of like my own the way that I relate to my fellow human beings here.
Where would you fall in that 53-47 split? Like, do you have a positive view of the fellow human? I'm sure you do.
I do, actually. I think that, if asked the question, like, percent who rate the morality and ethics of people in their country as very good, somewhat bad, or very bad, I would say that the morality and ethics of my fellow American is somewhat good. Mm-hmm. Like, I would fall on the positive side of things.
Yeah, same.
While constantly being horrified by the individual actions of the actual people, right? Like, yeah. But yeah, maybe is that the definition of a cynic almost, right? Or I have this unfounded and unevidenced belief in the inherent goodness of people that I just thrash with a brick. I just pound the shit out of my opinion of my generally good opinion of people when I actually have to interact with them.
Right. And the disappointment is a product of expectation. So like maybe you have a higher expectation of your fellow man. Like I have a lower expectation and they clear it, and so I'm like happy, like good job, I wasn't stabbed today. Maybe that's like I have a very low bar to clear, and every day people clear it. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a probably bummer ending of a podcast, but it was a silly episode anyway. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
My sister had her baby.
Oh, nice. Hip, hip.
Yeah, it was a gnarly...
How long was she? Like the labor was lengthy?
Well, it was too early. The kid is he's less than 4 pounds. He was 31 weeks, so that's
is that
officially...
like a preemie?
Officially premature.
So it's like ICU and all that stuff. They need to like do a lot of...
Yeah, it was just... So it was March 11th. Yeah, so a week ago tonight. That was probably also part of why I didn't want to record last night. Or last week, I should say. I was just very stressed out by my whole... Because she lost the one baby. Yeah. She lost another one, miscarriage, kind of late. And we get a text first thing in the... So I'm on the phone with my mother. She had driven to Texas to be with a friend who is dying. And then my sister goes into labor. So my mother has to turn around and drive back to New Jersey. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, she calls me just to chat on the phone for a few minutes. And then she gets a call, and it's coming from whoever was with my sister, who was scheduled to go into surgery to have her C-section because her water broke and they have to get the baby out of there 31 weeks or whatever. And then I didn't hear from my mother for I didn't hear from her for the rest of the day.
Oh, wow.
And so... I'm expecting the worst.
Yeah.
Like I'm just assuming like something bad is going on. And then we got a very vague text from my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, and he's very light on details. He just says it was a very inconclusive text about the health of the baby.
Okay.
I think he used the word fine, but he didn't use the word everybody's healthy and doing great, which is what you always say when this shit happens.
Yeah.
And so fine to me took on this specter of not good.
Yeah.
And so I spent the whole day with increasing anxiety about what the fuck was going on with my sister and the baby, and I didn't want to bother anyone if it was going particularly poorly. And then finally, like 10 o'clock that night, we get an update, and there's a picture of the kid, and it seems like everything is going to be fine. And it's still sketchy. It's touch and go, just because it's not that it's touch and go. It's something could go wrong and no one would be surprised.
Right.
Like nothing should go wrong.
Right. So it's like in a stable situation, but it's still ICU. In the NICU.
It's still a baby who weighs 3 pounds, 11 ounces or something, and is like. I have always, there's something about, because of course I held my son, 6 pounds, tiny, but there's something substantial about a newborn infant, even if it is smaller than you think it's going to be. But when you get down to the palm of the hand, like 3.5 pound baby, it becomes like I get this weird, I guess it's not weird, but I get very anxious about human lives that are that small. And so the amount of relief that I felt washing over me at 10 o'clock at night when I finally got that text was it was almost, because I didn't even realize how anxious I had worked myself up to.
Right.
But just thinking about this fucking tiny little nothing of a baby, and it's just remarkable that we can keep them alive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, such a fragile state. 4 pounds is literally nothing.
Yeah, but it's only 50% less than what I think of as perfectly normal. But it's an important 50%.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because basically anything 6 to 8, that's fine. I guess once you get above that, you're like, oh, that's a big old baby.
What's wrong with that fucking fat baby?
Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Okay.
With a very Italian sounding name, and Antonio Natale Mayo.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a funny thing. They got married. on March 1st of whatever the fucking year, in a blinding snowstorm, like a blinding, unseasonable snowstorm. The kid was born the day that we got 4 inches of snow that melted on contact with the ground.
Wow.
Like it was this bizarre, like heavy snow for like 6 hours, and 2 hours after it stopped, there was no evidence that any snow had happened whatsoever.
Wow.
It was.
You could have slept through it. Like, if you.
Yeah, you wouldn't have even known. Yeah. Like literally, you wouldn't. It was so, because the ground, it had been 86 degrees the day before. And so not only did all of this precipitation come down and there was no indication that it had snowed, but the ground was so hot, and then the sun came out. It was the sidewalk wasn't even wet.
Wow.
It was the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Wow, that's crazy.
It snows all day long, and then by 6 o'clock at night, there's no moisture anywhere.
That is strange.
It was bizarre. But anyway, that was...
Oh, I'm glad she's doing good.
Yeah, me too. She's doing this thing, though, which is not acceptable. She's sending family group texts in the voice of the baby.
Well, is that a new trend? What is that?
Well, I don't know if it's some moms just do this when they have a newborn. Like she sent a picture of the baby and my brother-in-law holding the baby, and she says, "Hi, family. My dada got to hold me today, and I am so happy." Like, no. Like, we can't have this. And it's like 3 paragraphs of my sister doing the voice and then putting a hyphen and then the kid's name as though the kid had written the message. And within 30 seconds, I responded to it saying, "Verbose little fucker. Mine couldn't talk right until like 3 years ago." Because I can't exactly tell her, "Oh, don't do that." But I can make fun of her in the hopes that she gets the message that she shouldn't be doing that.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's an interesting approach.
It's close to like I've seen it with pets. People put a picture of their pet on social media, and then they give the internal monologue of the pet as they imagine it. It's like, don't do that.
I mean, like, you sometimes see it with, like, protests. Some like snot-nosed, like, 6-year-old is holding up a sign that they did not write.
Right.
It's like, all right, the kid did not say that. Yeah. But you have to kind of play along.
Yeah. Anyway, when's the Biffler coming back? I need...
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.